In February 1945, one of the most beautiful cities in Asia ceased to exist. Not slowly, not over years. In 1 month. Manila, the Pearl of the Orient, a city of cathedrals, rivers, markets, and a million lives, was erased. And almost nobody talks about it. For 3 years, the Japanese imperial military had occupied the Philippines. Life under occupation was brutal. But by early 1945, something had shifted. American forces under General Douglas MacArthur were closing in. Liberation seemed close. Filipino families whispered about it. Children were told, "Hold on. It will be over soon." It was not over soon. What came next was not a battle. It was something else entirely. General Tomoyuki Yamashita, commander of Japanese forces in the Philippines, gave the order to abandon Manila. Pull out. Leave the city. He understood. Holding Manila against the American advance was militarily pointless. The city would fall. The order was clear. His subordinate ignored it. Rear Admiral Sanji Iwabuchi, commanding roughly 17,000 Japanese naval troops and army stragglers, decided something different. He would not retreat. He would hold Manila. He would fight to the last man. And if Manila burned, Manila would burn. What followed was a decision made by one man, carried out by 17,000, suffered by 100,000 civilians who had done nothing wrong except live in the wrong city at the wrong moment in history. February 3, 1945. American forces entered Manila. The Filipino population celebrated in the streets. They thought it was over. They thought they had survived. They had not. The Iwabuchi's forces sealed themselves inside the city. They sealed the bridges. They sealed the gates of Intramuros, the ancient walled city built by the Spanish 400 years earlier, home to churches, convents, hospitals, tens of thousands of civilians who had taken refuge believing the thick stone walls would protect them. The walls did not protect them. Japanese forces rounded up civilians. Not soldiers, not combatants. Families, women, children, elderly men. They were herded into buildings, churches, schools, the Philippine General Hospital. Places that should have been sanctuaries. They became something else. What happened inside those buildings between February and March 1945 has been documented by survivors, by war crimes tribunals, by American military investigators, and by historians across 8 decades. The Japanese forces massacred them, systematically, building by building, neighborhood by neighborhood. The Ermita district, Paco, Pandacan, Santa Ana, Malate, 100,000 Filipino civilians killed in 28 days. 100,000. In one city. In 1 month. By deliberate order. Hospitals were targeted. Patients dragged from beds. The Red Cross building was not spared. Churches where families had gathered believing God's house would protect them were not spared. The Bayview Hotel. The German Club. The Manila Club. The Philippines Women's University. Each became a site of slaughter. And while this was happening, American artillery was also destroying the city. MacArthur had been reluctant to use air power inside Manila. But artillery hammered the city for weeks as American and Japanese forces fought street by street through the rubble of what had been the Pearl of the Orient. Manila was being killed twice. Once from within, once from without. Intramuros, the ancient walled city, was the last stronghold. When American forces finally broke through the walls in late February, they found almost no one alive inside. The fortress that had stood for 4 centuries, through storms and uprisings and colonial wars, was gone. Not the walls. The walls stood. But everything inside. The churches, the convents, the university, the streets, the people, was rubble and ash. Only one building in Intramuros survived largely intact. San Agustin Church, built in 1607. It survived because Japanese forces used it as a prison, and the Americans held their fire. Everything else was gone. When the battle for Manila ended in early March 1945, war correspondents who entered the city went silent. One American officer compared what he saw to the ruins of Warsaw. Manila had been the second most devastated Allied capital of the entire Second World War. Second only to Warsaw, a city that had taken 4 centuries to build, destroyed in 28 days. The population was left with nothing. No homes, no markets, no churches, no infrastructure. People lived in rubble. Children grew up in the ruins of a city that no longer existed. There was a trial. General Yamashita, the man who had ordered the withdrawal that Iwabuchi ignored, was tried for war crimes. Found guilty, hanged in February 1946. His defense argued he had not ordered the massacre, that Iwabuchi had acted against his direct command, that he had not known the full extent of what was happening in Manila while he commanded operations elsewhere. The tribunal did not accept that argument. A commander is responsible for the acts of his forces. Period. Iwabuchi himself never faced trial. He died in the final days of the battle. Accounts differ on whether he was killed in combat or died by suicide as American forces closed in. He was never held accountable in a courtroom, never stood before a judge, never looked a survivor in the eye. The man most directly responsible for the deliberate massacre of 100,000 civilians died before justice could reach him. Here is what should disturb you. The Manila Massacre is one of the largest civilian massacres of the Second World War. 100,000 people. Most people in the world have never heard of it. Not in school, not in documentaries, not in the global conversation about the crimes of that war. The Holocaust is taught. Hiroshima is taught. The Nanjing Massacre is debated in international relations to this day. The firebombing of Dresden is analyzed in every military history course. Manila? Manila is a footnote. A city of 100,000 dead civilians who have been quietly removed from the popular memory of the war, not by conspiracy, not by cover-up, but by something almost more disturbing. Neglect. The world simply moved on. The Cold War came. The Philippines became a strategic American ally. The complicated truth of what American artillery had also done to Manila, alongside the Japanese massacre, made the full story politically inconvenient. And so the story was quietly set aside, and 100,000 people became a silence. The survivors and their descendants have never stopped remembering. In Manila today, memorials stand in the ruins of Intramuros. Plaques mark the sites of the massacres. Filipino historians have spent decades recovering the names, the testimonies, the records. But outside the Philippines, the world still does not know this story the way it should. This is why this channel exists. Not to tell you comfortable history, not to repeat what they already taught you in school, to find the stories they skipped. The 100,000 who were killed and then forgotten. The city that was erased and then erased again from memory. If you are watching this and you are learning about Manila for the first time, you are exactly who this channel was built for. And right now you have a choice. You can keep this to yourself, or you can share this video, because every person who watches it is one more person who now knows. One more person who can say, this happened. These people existed. Their lives mattered. Their deaths mattered. Drop in the comments the name of a historical event you think the world has forgotten. The one that should have been taught in every school but wasn't. The story that still hasn't been told at the scale it deserves. Write it below. We read every single comment. And the stories you name become the videos we build next. Share this now, because 100,000 people deserve more than silence.